Hello. Alrighty, welcome back, guys. This week we have on Emily. If you want to introduce yourself and kind of tell us your story.
Sure. So, hi, everyone. And thank you for having me. I am very honored to be here. My name is Emily Pareti, and I'm 32 years old. I'm just your average girl from a small town here in Central Jersey. I'm a yoga instructor, so we'll get more into those details later. And I have two small kids, 2 under 2. So it's very challenging, but it's worth it. My son, Noah, he just turned 2 in March of this year. And my daughter, River, she was born 2.5 months ago.
I love that name.
Thank you.
When you announced that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is the sweetest name ever.
Thank you.
Does it have like any background or you just liked it?
We were back and forth between a few different names. And at the end, we were just like, you know what? River is such a nice name. And we love the meaning behind river, just like a flowing body of water. Me and my husband were very active and we love nature. And yeah, that ended up being the one. When she came out, we weren't even deciding until she was out, and I'm like, yep, that's River.
That's such a cool name. I love that.
Thank you.
So kind of take us back to where it all started. Give us your where'd you go to college, all of that.
So I'm one of 3 kids. My sister is 4 years younger than me, and my brother is 4 years younger than her. So we're a bit spread out. We come from a very big family, and I would say 80% of my family, so grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, we all live in the same town, and it's the small town I grew up in, Milltown, New Jersey.
Okay.
My husband and I moved away for a few years, and we came back, so we are considered millbillies. There are lots of millbillies. They say whoever moves away from Milltown comes back. So that's where we live right now. But I am married to my high school sweetheart. We grew up together. We knew each other in elementary school, middle school. We started dating in high school. I grew up as a gymnast, a cheerleader. So I did a little bit of all-star cheerleading, varsity high school cheerleading, and I also was a competitive dancer.
Wow.
So dance ended up being my thing. I stuck with that through high school, through college. I was on the Rutgers dance team, and dance has really shaped me as a person and who I am today. I'm so grateful for, all of my experiences, but definitely dance was, my favorite. And in college, that was that's really why I wanted to go to Rutgers, was to be on the dance team. But the opportunities it gave me, they were all really incredible.
That's awesome. Was that something that did you try different things when you were younger as far as sports go, or did you always kind of stay in that avenue of cheer, dance, gymnastics?
Movement, right?
Yeah.
My dad really wanted me to be a softball player. And I was really athletic as a kid. My parents were always yeah, Emily, whatever she does, she's good at. And but I was really humble about it. I wasn't I wasn't that type of kid. But yeah, I was never in love with other sports. I was always drawn to the more acrobatic dance, performance aspects of things. So it made me feel happy on the inside when I was on stage performing, moving my body. And that's really where it brought me today with yoga. I mean, it really does make me happy, and I feel like it's my passion. It's one of my purposes in life. Basically, it gives me purpose here on earth, is to share what I love to do.
Yeah.
Were you doing yoga at that when you were younger also, or did you kind of look oh, now that I'm done with dance, I kind of need something else to move? And
Yeah, no, yoga always seemed like a boring thing to me when I was younger, and I didn't know much about it until I tried it later on in life. But I guess we can backtrack a little bit to my health journey.
Yeah.
So I know you guys wanted me to talk a little bit about my cancer experience. So I was diagnosed with cancer at 18 years old.
Wow.
I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was found my senior year of high school, right when everyone was, looking forward to hearing back from different colleges and just getting ready for that next step in life. I was in the ER hearing from a doctor, an oncologist, that I had cancer. And I was like, what is going on? Because I was always like really healthy growing up.
Like a huge shock.
Yeah.
How did they find it? Like, what was that, like, how did that transpire?
I just remember one day like feeling this lump in my neck. It was like in my collarbone.
Okay.
And I showed my mom, and I'm like, hey mom, what is this? Like, should we go to the doctor? And the look on our face, she's like, yes, let's go to the doctor tomorrow. So we went to my pediatrician, and she immediately was like, you need to go to the ER. Like, I can't do this fast enough to figure out what it is. And she like knew in her mind what it could be.
Okay.
And Hodgkin's lymphoma is actually very common in young adults. So ages, I think they say like ages 15 through 35. It's really common. And at the time I'm like asking the doctors why, like, how did this happen? Like, what did I do?
Of course.
And really they couldn't pinpoint what exactly it was, but it's probably something environmental that I was exposed to, whether it was in the air, the water, mold, some sort of ingredient in food, like who knows really. But I was just like, why is this happening to me? And at that time, like, I was in fight or flight mode. I was just like, all right, let's get this done. Like, I don't want this to interrupt my life, right? And I did everything normally. I went to prom. I wore like a wig because my hair fell out during chemotherapy. I continued dancing. I taped the wig to my head so it wouldn't fly off. I just wanted to be a normal 18-year-old. I didn't want anybody to like treat me differently. And I went through treatment for 3 months. It was only 3 months because they wanted me in this clinical trial to see if minimal treatment could get rid of the cancer. And it did. And the purpose of that was to prevent long-term side effects to my organs, primarily like my heart, like to get like, you don't want to get heart disease at age 30. So we did minimal treatment. It worked.
You just did chemo, no radiation?
Just chemo at the time. So at that time I was dancing, and then I went to college, went to Rutgers for 4 years. I was on the dance team. And after that is when I started, so we're like hopping around a little bit, but after that is when I was like, I need something else. Dance really at that time during my healing journey was like, where I felt normal, where I can just release my emotions and like get out of my head into my heart. So I needed something else to continue that feeling. And I found yoga when I was about like 22. My husband and I, he was actually my fiance, maybe not at that time, but we ended up getting engaged a couple years after that. We lived in Hawaii. I'm like popping around. Cool. We moved to Hawaii right after college. He had a job as a math teacher at one of the public schools. And they're always recruiting mainland teachers to come out there because they have a teacher shortage. So he had that opportunity.
That is amazing.
And I went with him. And out there is when I really started yoga. I'm like, I need a hobby. I need something to occupy my time. And I loved how it made me feel moving on my mat and just like clearing my thoughts. Because, like all of us have anxiety. So like clearing that anxiety and letting go of that past that I had with cancer as well.
Was there like a different culture around yoga there than kind of here, or is it about the same?
It's like the same. I mean, there's more outdoor yoga, definitely, because the weather there all year round is beautiful. I mean, 95% of the time it's sunny and gorgeous. So I would say there's more like outdoor fitness classes, but definitely Hawaii. feel like it's easier to be healthy out there because it's so nice. You can hike. But there are still indoor yoga studios in Hawaii. Like I went to a Bikram yoga studio out there, and that's basically hot yoga. And it's a specific type of hot yoga where you do, I think it's, hot 26. Hot 26 is 26 poses. So that came from Bikram yoga. So you do the same 26 poses 2 times during the class. And I tried that out there at a hot studio. And it's funny because it's hot in Hawaii, but they make it even more hot in the studio. So that's where I fell in love with it. And I took my mat down to the beach like every couple days after work to do sunset yoga down by the water.
Ooh, that's cool.
And it was just so peaceful. So
I feel like when I think of Hawaii, I just think of wellness.
Yeah.
Like fresh fruit, the sun, the beach, like surfing, just like rejuvenation to its like core.
Oh yeah. I mean, when you say fresh fruit, my bosses out there, they had a banana tree, so they would always bring in their fresh bananas, but they were apple bananas. Have you heard of apple bananas?
Never heard of that.
They're like the tiny little bananas, and they taste a little sweeter than real bananas.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they always brought us those, and our other friend had soursop leaves in their backyard.
Whoa.
Do you know what that is?
No.
So soursop leaves, you can make tea out of them.
Okay.
And if you do a little research on that, on soursop, there's like natural healing properties that it can cure cancer naturally.
Wow.
So I was like, give me all of that because I need to prevent this cancer from, coming back. But actually, I did experience a recurrence out there in Hawaii. So I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. My second time being diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma was in Hawaii. And that time around was like way more of a mental toll for me. Because I was far from home. I didn't have my family nearby. I had my fiance with me, but he was really the only person that I felt comfortable being with me during like the procedures and treatments, going back and forth to the doctor and whatnot. So being in Hawaii during that was hard, but like you said before, you think of wellness out there, and that's the exact reason why I decided to stay, was because it was the perfect environment to heal. Yeah.
So you received treatment out there. Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And was that more of an aggressive treatment? Like what kind of, did you have to go through more treatment than you did the first time?
Yeah. So my doctor in New Jersey, my oncologist here, was in communication with me and my oncologist out there.
Okay.
And they both decided that it was necessary for me to have more aggressive treatment this time, since the first time having just 3 rounds of chemo obviously wasn't enough. And they say after you've been in remission for 5 years, you're good, you're cancer free. But this was 7 years after my initial diagnosis. So for me, that was like a surprise. I was shocked. I didn't know it could come back.
Yeah.
They never told me that. They just said the first like 2 to 5 years, there's a larger chance for it to return, for me to have a recurrence. So it was decided that I needed 12 cycles of chemo and 14 rounds of radiation to my neck and chest. Wow. And I did it out in Hawaii. I went to Queens Medical Center, which was the main hospital. The doctors out there were wonderful. Actually, my surgeon was from New Jersey. He was from Belmar, New Jersey.
No
I'm
way.
like, what? Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of people move out there because it's just like a great lifestyle. But the biggest difference between getting treated here and getting treated out there was it's more of a slower pace in Hawaii. Like here in New Jersey, everyone's like,
The resources.
get it done.
And,
Like come in now, come in tomorrow. Like test results are back the next day. Like out there, I needed to wait a little bit longer.
Okay.
But but it wasn't an aggressive type of cancer. Hodgkin's is slow growing, and they're like, you're good. Like there's a 95% cure rate.
Okay.
So they weren't worried. So we kind of delayed it a little bit. When they knew it was Hodgkin's, we delayed it a little bit for me to freeze my eggs. So I went through the beginning stages of IVF treatments out there for when I wanted to have children. If I could not have children and conceive naturally, I had eggs frozen.
Okay.
And good news, we didn't have to use them.
Okay.
So that's good.
Yeah, I was really happy about that because it would have been a lot of money to even just, use them.
Yeah. So how did yoga play into all of this and into your healing and during your second reoccurrence? Like, how did living out there and, doing yoga kind of help you with, that process and that journey?
It played a huge role physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Like yoga for me, I know here it's like the Americanized yoga is more physical, right? You see downward dog, plank, warrior two. But there are other types of yoga that are more, meditative, where you're just sitting and meditating, and a lot of breath work that can help you heal and just come into the present moment. So I did a little bit of everything. I did movement for my body because my body had a lot of stuckness from the cancer and the scar tissue being in my more in my neck and chest area. So the movement helped a lot. Just coming to my mat and moving was very healing physically. Mentally, being in my body helped me just focus more on the present moment and not like what's coming next in my cancer journey. Like, what will tomorrow bring? You can't think like that. You have to just stay in the moment. So yoga helped me with that, and a lot of different breath work exercises, which is pranayama in yoga. That's what we call it. That was very healing for me as well. There are so many styles of yoga, so I always say there is a type of yoga for everyone. I ended up teaching, after I got my certification, I ended up teaching a lot of different for a lot of different cancer organizations to help other cancer patients, cancer thrivers, cancer survivors heal. And yeah, I mean, I think yoga can benefit everyone, everybody, no matter what you're going through. If it's cancer, if it's an injury, if it's depression, there is a type of yoga for everybody. And like you see on social media, like some, crazy people who've been doing yoga for years and years and years. And it could seem intimidating for people who've never done it. So that's why I like to offer a more welcoming environment and, build community, build confidence for those who are afraid to try yoga. There's a type of yoga for everybody, even for those people who are in a wheelchair. There's, chair yoga.
Interesting.
Yeah. You can move your upper body. You can do upper body yoga seated in a chair. So
really
it's
cool.
really neat. Yeah.
That's what my grandma does at her seniors group. She does chair yoga, and she says
Really?
it's sneakily hard, she told me.
I love that.
And I guess, like, what was the journey of getting your certification in yoga? Did you get it out in Hawaii, or did you get it when you were here?
I wanted to get it in Hawaii. The thing about getting your certification is it's costly.
Okay.
So, living in Hawaii is very expensive as it is, and we didn't have a lot of extra money. We were saving up for our wedding, which was planned to be here with all of our family as like a big celebration after we moved back home. So I had always planned to get my teacher certification for yoga, but out there it would have been financially silly, like, to do it. So after we came back home, we got married. I found a teacher certification. It was a 200-hour one. It seemed really great at my current studio, and it was a different name back then, so they rebranded. But I started it in 2018, and I completed it in 2019. So it was spread out, a 6-month program to receive my 200-hour certification. And I've been teaching ever since. I've taught over 1,000 hours. So once you meet that 1,000-hour mark, you're considered an experienced registered yoga teacher. So an ERYT.
Very cool.
So, and I can't imagine, you know, my life if I hadn't done that. And I just want to teach others I want to teach others who want to experience the same healing that it gave me.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like it can seem intimidating on the outside, especially with social media, seeing like how people, you know, the different moves and stuff like that. But it really is such like a welcoming community. No matter where you go, like you find, you know, so many amazing people that are doing yoga and willing to help and teach, and just such like a relaxing and calm environment. I feel like it's hard to find that sometimes when you're, I don't even want to say exercising, but when you're trying to move your body, it's a very different form of movement than anything like I've ever experienced, or I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
So,
and it definitely is a type of exercise. It's a form of fitness for sure. But like I could go through some different styles of yoga.
Yeah,
so
talk about like the different classes you teach. And
so my certification back when I first started, it taught us how to teach a vinyasa class, a vinyasa flow. So all types. So a beginner vinyasa flow through an advanced vinyasa flow. Backtrack. Yes. I also have taught like gentle yoga for those who cannot, you know, go up and down as easily. So that was a part of my training as well, how to teach gentle yoga. Restorative yoga is really great for those who maybe have pain in their body, or maybe for people who went through some type of trauma. So a cancer diagnosis, or maybe something else that they're holding trauma in their body. And then there are types of yoga that need extra certifications in order for you to teach, like yin yoga. Yin, it's a great style of yoga. You're only going to do probably like 8 to 10 poses for the whole entire class, but you're holding each pose for probably like 4 to 6 minutes at a time. So it's like if you're in child's pose, you're holding that for like 4 to 6 minutes, and you're just feeling the connective tissue around your joints, releasing, stretching, and you're really getting out so much tension. I love that. I love yin yoga, but it's not for everyone. Like I said, all types of yoga, not every single type is for everybody, but there is a style for everybody. I personally love vinyasa. I love flows. I think it just serves me, and I love teaching it. I'm trying to think what other styles did I not mention. Hot yoga, restorative, yin, and then that brings us to aerial yoga. I'm like, let me talk about that. So aerial yoga was a separate certification. I got that in 2019. So a few months after my studio asked me if I wanted to get trained in aerial, because they were looking for more teachers. I had never taken a class when they asked me, and I'm like, let me take a class first to see if I like it. So I took a few classes and I loved it. My dance and gymnastics background, I, you know, grew up doing back tucks, back handsprings, handstands. So there was a lot of opportunity to do things like that, like fun tricks in aerial. And I loved that. So I ended up getting the certification. It was a 50-hour, so just 2 weekends of training. And then I pretty much started teaching right away. And when I started teaching, it was definitely different teaching aerial than regular yoga because of the safety aspect.
Okay.
Like you can't just have someone who does not have body awareness jump into the silks and try a trick. No, you have to make sure they're ready for it. So there's that aspect of it. And teaching aerial is not for everybody because it is harder to teach aerial than regular yoga.
Okay.
Because you have the silks and everything, and you have to make sure everyone's safe and no one falls out. So there's a lot to consider, but I grew to love it. I grew to really, you know, find my practice with aerial. I took classes in the city to work on my technique, to learn more tricks. And I loved it. And during COVID, really, that's all I did was after work, I would come to the studio and I would just practice and practice. And I'd watch videos and I would teach myself new tricks. And then I would teach my students. But at the time, there weren't classes because of COVID. So I actually taught more private lessons with that. And that was really fun too.
That is cool. And then I guess also talk about your work with prenatal yoga. I don't know how new that is, but you've recently have had, you know, children. So how is that like become more like important to you?
Yeah. So I never considered prenatal until I got pregnant with my son. So I found out I was pregnant with him in the summer of 2021.
Okay.
He was due in March of 2022. At the time, I was like, yeah, I want to continue working out, being active. I want to continue yoga. And during my 200-hour certification, we learned, you know, how to give options and modifications for anyone that comes into the class that's pregnant. But I was like, I want to learn more than just that. I want to learn more than just the modifications. I want to learn how to actually do yoga that will benefit me and my pregnant body, my baby, and that will help me during my labor and my birth. So I found a certification that was virtual because, you know, COVID, everything turned virtual. And I'm like, this is great. I can do this certification from home, from my laptop. And it was an amazing certification with Deb Flashenberg at Prenatal Yoga Center in New York City. So she does in person as well, but I'm really happy that it was virtual because I can't imagine traveling to New York City while I was pregnant. But I'm really happy that I did it while pregnant so I can feel in my body how it's supposed to feel, you know, with whatever symptoms I was feeling in my pregnant body, like if it was my low back that was hurting, you know, what are some poses, what are some stretches and movements that will help alleviate that pain and will help you have a more easy pregnancy. So it's not only alleviating the pain and discomfort during pregnancy, but prenatal will also prepare the body for a more smoother and maybe a natural birth if that's of interest of the person that's doing prenatal, right? And for me, when I went through the training, I had never thought that I would want an unmedicated birth without drugs, without an epidural, but I went through the training and I realized that that is what I wanted. And the training was more than just learning how to do prenatal yoga. It was so much more than that. It was learning how to prepare the body in other ways to have a baby. And like we learned, you know, if you're experiencing this, you know, here's a pose for that, but here's also what you should be doing. So for example, like heartburn, you experience heartburn from the baby pushing up on the sphincter on your, you know, pushing up towards the chest, right? So you're experiencing that acid reflux. So for those students, you want to give them poses that aren't putting more pressure up there. So you should stay lifted more in the chest. You should do more heart openers, more like lengthening of the upper body. But you could also eat papaya enzymes and do other things. Like, so it was a really comprehensive training that I would highly recommend to anyone that's wanting to learn prenatal. And I've been teaching prenatal at a studio in Morganville, Vita. So if anyone is pregnant listening to this, feel free to come and jump into my classes.
I feel like that's great because when I think of like pregnancy, it's obviously like a very like scary thing, and of course we have like medical intervention now, so it's like that's kind of the standard, like, oh, you get an epidural and you know, all of that. But I feel like it's not common knowledge to kind of how to connect to your body like during pregnancy, and your body changes so much. So like the ability to like still create like movement and, you know, stay connected with your body, and then have it translate into like birth and, you know, gaining some knowledge about that. And it also, it's very empowering because, I mean, I don't know how, you know, it feels to give birth, obviously, but it's a very special thing, but also it's like a very intense thing. So to be able to like channel your emotions like in a very particular way is probably like great because you have control over your body.
Right.
You know?
And you brought up a great thought. It's not only physical, but it's also like empowering mentally. During my classes, I always at the beginning or at the end, I'll say a mantra or an affirmation that, you know, can really like sit with the person, with the pregnant student, and they could bring it with them to their labor and bring it throughout their journey. So for me, I created like a birth board with a lot of different quotes and affirmations, like my body was meant to do this, like this pain is purposeful. So things like that. The other tools that we bring to prenatal will really help in the long run with having an easier birth experience. But I would not have been able to have an unmedicated birth if I didn't go through that training. And a part of the training, it was required to read these birth books. One of the books was The Birth Partner. And it was all about doulas, like having a good support system with you at your birth, at your labor, so that, you know, if you're not in the right state of mind to make an informed decision, they can help you do that. They can, you know, say like, whatever, here's a position that will help you and the baby progress. So I ended up hiring a doula, and she was with me for both of my births. And not like, if I didn't have her, I don't even know if I'd be able to get through that. But like, she was so encouraging, so motivating throughout the whole process. And even during my pregnancy, like she checked in on me. We went through my birth plan. So I mean, like the partner, my husband, he was obviously there and supportive, but he didn't know what to do. Like he didn't know what position to put me in to make me like feel better during, you know, my contractions and things like that. So having her for both of my births was really helpful. And both of my birth experiences were completely different. Like I had a hospital birth with my son, with my first, an all natural, no epidural. And then with my second, I was like wanting something different, more natural. I wanted to see about having the baby at a birth center with midwives. So I went to a midwifery practice. It was a part of St. Peter's Hospital in New Brunswick. So it was attached to the hospital, actually. But the birth center, they did not offer any sort of epidural drugs, anything like that to initiate labor and contraction. So I wanted that type of experience for my second baby. And
that's
right
cool
from
that
the
they
start,
offer that. I didn't even know that that was a thing.
Right when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, I want to switch from my OB to a midwife, and I did, and it was great. It was an amazing experience. A very fast, quick, easy birth. I was home the next day, like literally 12 hours after, because they make it as close to a home birth as possible, with having the option, if needed, to get transferred to the hospital if needed, right? I didn't want that, but God forbid.
Something.
Exactly.
Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How do you feel like mindset that you have built over time, you know, through your yoga played into like having a strong mindset during birth? Because I feel like what you think about it, like you hear, like sometimes you talk to like other women, they're like, oh, my birth was terrible, I was in labor, and it's like that sticks in like a young girl's mind, and then when it's time for them to go through that experience, they almost like remember, you know, like all these different stories. But I feel like it's so important to like go into it with like a really positive and like, you know, clear mindset, like, you know, this is my plan, and you know, this is what I think of it. And
it's all about the mindset. I mean, whatever you go into, just put it in your head that you're going to do it. Like if you're running a marathon, say, I'm going to do this. Obviously you have to train, you have to be physically ready, but like when it comes to the day in the morning, it's all about the mindset. You can't say, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know. Just say, I am going to do this. Exactly. So, you know, whatever you have to do to put it in your mind that it's going to work out, it will. And I follow all these, like, I don't know if you know Dr. Joe Dispenza. You do?
Yeah,
I love him. You know, he's all about the mindset too. And like Gabby Bernstein, it's like you create your own reality. So whatever you need to do, just believe it in your heart. Right? Put it out there. Put it out to the universe. Just let go of whatever is holding you back. Let it go. And then going back to my birth, like the one thing that I learned during the certification from the woman Deb that owned the studio, the prenatal studio, she said, if you can do anything for 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So an average contraction is 30 to 60 seconds. So you can do anything for 30 to 60 seconds. So what we did during the training and what I teach sometimes in my prenatal classes is go to a wall and do a wall squat for, 60 seconds. Hold it for that long. You could do it. Don't come out of it. If you're struggling, if you're shaking, stay in it. Right. And that's basically what a contraction is. You can do it. It's not going to last forever. The pain is purposeful. Just put it in your head that it's going to be over soon. Whatever mantra you have, this pain is purposeful. I am strong. I am capable. My body was made to do this. Just keep saying that over and over and over. And it's funny, going into a birth, you might have a birth plan, but sometimes it doesn't go as planned. Like I created a playlist for both my births. When it came to it, I didn't want to hear any music. I just wanted to be in my body. Like I didn't want any distractions externally. I just wanted to be meditating with my breath. Like I knew what I needed to do inside. And I had a great support system too. So they were obviously helping, but I didn't want to hear 50 Cent music. I just wanted to breathe and just be in the moment.
And that just circles right back to what yoga teaches is presence and what are you experiencing right here, right now, on your mat kind of thing. And I love that. And you seem to carry that into everything that you do, which is just amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you want to ask anything?
What's next in your yoga journey?
So I talked about my 200 hour, my aerial, my prenatal. I also have my Reiki level 2. So if you know about Reiki, it's universal energy being transferred, and it's very powerful. It has healing capabilities. I would like to get my yin certification eventually. And I just want to focus more on, my aerial and prenatal, because I do know that there needs to be more, talking more about prenatal. So many people say to me, there needs to be more prenatal classes. there's not enough around here. So I do want to focus more on that. I've put thought into maybe creating like on-demand prenatal courses, something like that. For those who reach out to me and they're not in driving distance to come to an in-person class. I want there to still be a good option for them to take my class. I'm not selfish in that way, but I also refer people to take classes elsewhere if I know of a good studio, or if I know of a studio that offers virtual classes. I'll refer them there. But I really do love prenatal and what it offered for me and how it helped me in my birth journeys and welcoming both of my babies. So I just want everyone who has a baby to benefit from prenatal yoga. And aerial yoga is like my baby. I'm doing a aerial teacher certification in the fall at my studio at Dhyana Yoga. So if anyone is interested in becoming certified in aerial, you don't need to be a yoga teacher to become certified in aerial. So there is no prerequisite, although it is very helpful to have some knowledge in yoga or some sort of fitness movement of the body. You don't need to have any prior certifications for that. So if anyone listening is interested, it's 3 weekends in the fall, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And my studio, we're always looking for more teachers who are willing to teach, who are willing to sub, because it's hard to find teachers when I go on vacation.
So we wanted to do some rapid fire questions. This is something that we do every episode. It's like one of our favorite things, and it's really just like fun, and you kind of can just, whatever comes to mind, you can kind of answer. So the first one is what is the coolest place you've ever done yoga?
Obviously Hawaii. Oh no, actually, scratch that. Greece. So I went to Greece twice for 2 retreats, and this was with Maria from Magical Hands Physical Therapy, who but for anyone listening, I met her after moving home through a mutual friend, and she invited me to come on her retreat to be her yoga instructor, and that's how our relationship started. So in 2019, we partnered in Andros, Greece, a very small island. So that was probably the most amazing location that I did yoga, practiced yoga, and taught yoga. And then we went back this September in 2023 for another retreat in Mykonos, Greece. So that was also amazing. But the 2019 one was like a once in a lifetime experience. And everyone who came, there were 9 people that came. It was just like the group is so special. We're like family. So yeah.
Do you still do those retreats?
We try and do like a big retreat every few years or so. She understands that I am so busy with my schedule, with 2 babies and everything else that I do. So she does a lot of like workshops and retreats on her own. But we, we're like family and we work so well together. So we try and do a big retreat every few years or so.
Nice.
She's like, whenever you're open to it, just let me know. And I'm like, I will, trust me.
It's incredible. She is all over.
She is.
That is like amazing how much she gets to travel. The next question is, if you had a blank check, what would you do with the money? No, it's like a heavy question, but
oh my gosh. The first thing that comes to mind is like give to cancer organizations that can help find a cure. I mean, that's like amazing. I know so many people that were touched personally by cancer, whether it was a diagnosis or a mom or whoever. So I just want to help them. And one of my good friends is going through it right now, and I just want to help her. And I'm like, I don't know how. So if I can give her money to, have her just heal, then I would. But
I love that.
That's a good question.
What is one yoga position you'd love to learn how to do?
I know I said this before, but like all the fancy yoga poses, that's not all yoga. That's just a small percent. And you can be a great yogi without doing all of that. But for me, since I grew up as a gymnast, I've always wanted to get my press up handstand. So that's one. And it's not really like, it's more like acro, but a lot of yogis can do it.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to be able to do it, and I've always like worked on it, but haven't like really gotten it. But
What is
basically,
that? I was gonna say.
yeah. So basically, instead of kicking up into a handstand, you would put your hands on the floor and you would lift your legs like by using your core. You would lift them up without like jumping or kicking.
Yeah.
So you need a lot of strength for that. And I've gotten so close to it, where I've taken like workshops, handstand workshops to try and, you know, improve my handstands. And I've been like so close, but never fully gotten it. So that's the one. Yeah. Maybe one day soon.
Cool. Pick one: Aloe Yoga or Lululemon.
Lately, Lulu. Lately, it's been Lulu. Yeah.
Nice.
But I do like my pants right now are from Aloe from years ago, and they're still really good.
Nice.
But I feel like lately, like going on Aloe's website, like I haven't, their styles now I haven't been into, which is totally fine, like whatever. But I love Lululemon's Align pants. They're very cozy and comfortable.
Yeah, they're the best.
But if you're a yogi, you don't have to get Aloe and Lulu, like. But I do like, I really like their apparel.
Nice. What does success mean to you?
Success means happiness in my heart. I feel like right now in my life, I am successful in all areas, right? Like I mentioned before, family, my 2 kids, my husband. We have a home, a house. We have food on our table every night. And financially, we are comfortable. So I think all of that is success.
Great answer. I think you answered this already, but what's one class you eventually want to teach?
Yeah, definitely yin. If I can become certified in that, I think it's just a very short certification. I think there's so many benefits to yin yoga, healing wise, and just anyone going through pain in their bodies. Maybe that type of practice is more for them rather than a vinyasa practice. Like for example, my mom, she claims she hates yoga, but I really just don't think she's tried a class that, you know, is good for her, for her body, because she does have a lot of pain, and my class was way too hard for her, and she's like, nope, I'm not trying it again. So I want to try and get her into it more, and find a class and a style and a teacher that is best for her. And I'm not like, you have to take my class. No, like you don't have to take my class isn't for you, you know what I mean? So definitely yin would be my next thing whenever the time comes for that. But right now, like, you know, I'm focused on my babies, but maybe in a couple years when they're older.
Nice. Little switch up here. If you had to eat one thing for every meal going forward, what would you eat?
Oh my gosh.
We're covering all of our bases here.
Oh my gosh, this is a hard one. One thing, I don't know.
Or I guess it could be
breakfast foods are my favorite.
Yeah.
So maybe some type of breakfast food, like, I don't know. I love eggs. I think.
I was gonna ask, are you still like vegetarian or vegan or anything like that?
I don't like to put a label on it, but I don't eat meat. I primarily eat like vegetarian type of foods, but I do eat fish also.
Okay.
Gotcha. We ask every episode pork roll or Taylor ham, and I was like, I think she's vegetarian.
No, I don't eat that.
I was like, we're taking that question off. She's like, no, she does not eat meat.
Yeah, I don't eat any pork, but actually, when I was pregnant with my son, I went to a Chinese medicine doctor in the city. He's very famous, and he specifically told me that I needed to eat a little bit of red meat every once in a while.
Okay.
So because of that, he said for the iron, right? Because of that, he was like, just, eat high quality steak, just like a 4-ounce steak every once in a while. So I will eat a little bit of steak here and there just for the iron, because iron pills wasn't enough for me during pregnancy.
Okay.
And he said, in order to have a healthy, strong labor, birth, pregnancy, I needed that. And he's a really great doctor, so I listened to him and I sucked it up.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Everything will work out. And don't worry about what other people think of you. I feel like confidence, growing up, I didn't always have a lot of confidence. I don't know why. But it doesn't matter. Now I look at it, I'm like, why do I care what other people think? Let me just do what I want to do, to make myself happy. Not everything is for everyone, but yeah, don't worry what other people think.
Nice. So we have 2 more. What is your favorite yoga position and why? It's probably hard to choose.
It would actually, so I'll do one for regular yoga and then one for aerial.
Okay.
Let's see. I'll start with aerial. Aerial yoga would be sacrum wrap. So it's you're upside down in the aerial hammock. So if you're imagining aerial hammock coming down from the ceiling like that, the silk is around your low back.
Okay.
And your feet are wrapped around, so you look like a little frog. And then you're upside down. Whoa. So your head is off the floor. And the best thing about aerial is you can invert, so you can come upside down without compression of the spine. So your head isn't touching the floor, your hands aren't touching the floor, your spine is just lengthening, and you feel so much tension release from the shoulders and neck. So that would be my aerial pose that I love. And then regular yoga, I think I would have to say shoulder stand. Okay. So that is also an inversion. So I'm just picking all things upside down. Shoulder stand is typically done at the end of class. Okay. And your legs are up. Your hands can either be on the low back, on the mat, or you can interlace your fingers and stretch your arms, and then your legs are straight up to the ceiling, and you're basically standing on your shoulders with your spine up, going up. And I feel like that is just so good for my neck. It just stretches my neck so good. And inversions are really nice to calm the nervous system and to release any fluids and tension from the leg area, the feet, the ankles. So I would have to choose shoulder stand.
Love it. Last question is, what is one thing about you that surprises people?
We were talking about this before. One thing that surprises people is that I'm not a full-time yoga instructor. So one misconception of yoga is that a lot of instructors, I would say most 90% at least, don't teach yoga full-time. They also have another job, another form of income, because just teaching classes isn't going to provide enough money for you to live comfortably, especially here in New Jersey. So I know lots of teachers, yoga teachers, are also, school teachers, or they work maybe something like me in HR. Some are nurses, or just they do something else on the side. They might have a part-time job or have their own business, small business, and teach yoga. So that's definitely a misconception of yoga, and something that surprises people, because I'm so passionate about my yoga classes that I do promote them a lot. And I love my studios, and I love teaching, and I love just introducing the practice to everyone, my family, my friends, anyone that follows me. I'm just like, I want it to benefit everyone. So people think that I just teach yoga, and I don't. But that's just me, honestly. Like, if you're listening, this wouldn't surprise anyone. I've always had like multiple jobs or multiple things, multiple passions. Like in Hawaii, when I was my full-time job, I was like an office manager at a construction company. I also had my real estate license on the side. Whoa. And I coached gymnastics on the side. So that was like 3 jobs at once. But you know, you got to work hard out there in order to make money, because it's so expensive.
How has, like, I love your Instagram, by the way. It's like amazing, and you've, you know, really like put yourself out there as far as that. Like, how has that kind of like played a role in this, like connecting with people and just kind of like sharing your journey?
Definitely. I've had social media forever, like back in the day with MySpace, and then Facebook came around in high school. I got Instagram in college, when I was just like, post one photo and one caption. There were no stories, there were no reels or videos. But it was always just, I loved sharing. I loved sharing my story. I loved connecting with people. You know, I went to multiple camps in high school where I had friends all over. So we would just like stay in touch on Facebook or Instagram. And then when I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, with cancer, I sought out other people that were going through the same experience that I was going through on social media. So I would look up hashtag Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I would find other people my age in their early 20s that were going through it. And I would just message them and say like, hey, like whatever question I had, I would ask. So that's really the role social media has played in my life, is connection, and sharing, you know, just putting my story out there for whoever will benefit. And I think everyone has a story to share, so don't be afraid. I mean, you know, you can be private in some aspects, but if you have something that can help someone else, then, you know, why not?
That's great. So where can everyone find you? And if you want to like shout out different studios and just like, you know, any info that you want out there so people can kind of reach you.
Yeah. So I have a website, emilypareti.com is my website. I make sure I update it with all of my classes, my current classes, and my workshops. So you can see any of my prenatal stuff, my aerial, kids aerial, regular classes, and if I'm doing any retreats, which I don't have planned right now, but once I plan something with that, maybe in a year or whenever the kids are able to be with my husband without me, I'll put that out there. So my website is where all of my classes and workshops are.
Okay.
And then Instagram, Emily Pareti on Instagram, Facebook, Emily Pareti Yoga. I try and post, you know, all my workshops and things like that on there as well. And people feel free to share. I sometimes share in like local groups, local Facebook groups around town, and that's how people find out about my classes in the studio. And then the studio that we're at right now, Dhyana Yoga in North Brunswick, in the North Brunswick shops. And then I also teach at Vita in Morganville. That's where I do my prenatal classes on Tuesday nights.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on and having us here. This is like the most gorgeous studio I've ever seen. It's so pretty.
It is.
It really is so nice.
Thank you both.
Yeah, we're so excited. And yeah, cool. All right.